Hi everyone, I'm Jennifer Dodge, the broker owner of Silver Sands Real Estate. I got my real estate license in 2004. I got my broker's license in 2013, and I opened Silver Sands Real Estate in 2014. As you can see over here to the left, this is a list of some of the continuing education I've had to do over the years. As real estate agents, we are expected to know a little bit about every step of the home buying and selling process, from the neighborhoods to the schools, businesses, home construction, appliances, mortgages, insurance are among some of the things that are helpful. So that requires a lot of ongoing education through the years as those laws change. I work with buyers and sellers in Santa Rosa, Walton, and Okaloosa counties. I've closed over $75 million in transactions with over 600 transaction sides. I've worked with over 300 clients, and at any given time, I have about 3,500 contacts in my repertoire of people that I send regular notices out to or market updates. Today I want to talk about what makes a good realtor a great realtor. As you can see, I believe experience is important, and education, and of course integrity is one of the most important qualities I find among a real estate agent, because you will find that most people throughout their lives, their most expensive purchase or sale is usually their home, their private home, or their real estate they invest in. So it's very important that you use integrity and honesty while working with those people. I also believe that one of the most important things that we have is compassion. We need to have compassion for the people that we're working with. These are real lives, real people who have real problems and real concerns while buying and selling real estate. Today I want to talk about two clients that I've worked with. My first client is going to be the first-time home buyer. This right here is the Strickers. This is their actual wedding picture. I love working with first-time home buyers because they're fun, they're excited, they're eager, and they're just ready for the world. They're usually newlyweds, starting new lives, that kind of thing. So they're usually fun people to work with. However, they're also more nervous. They tend to get a little scared at some points, and they need a lot more counseling than someone who has previously sold or bought a property before. So this particular client, after we went out looking for their home, we found them a home that they liked. And what I like to do with my buyers when they find properties they like is we walk around the property together and we look for potential issues that we may have with the home inspection. No home inspection is going to come back perfect. So usually if I try to identify the things that may come back, it'll keep the surprises from surprising them. And the least amount of surprises for buyers, the happier they will be. So two of the main things that I check are the AC units and the roof. This particular case, the AC unit looked like it was in good shape and the roof looked like it was in good shape. These are the two most costly items for most homeowners for replacement and repair, and they do need to be cared for regularly in order to keep them at their longest lifespan. This particular instance, I saw that the roof looked like it was new. The shingles were in good shape. However, when I wrote the offer, I added an addendum that a lot of people are not aware of that has to do with the insurance. Because your insurance is in Florida, a lot of people don't know that almost half of your policy is what they call excess wind, and that is your hurricane insurance. And that is strictly based upon the roof age, the construction, whether it was done properly. And we have inspectors come in and they do what is called a wind mitigation inspection. And they come in and they take pictures and they send it to your insurance company. And in some cases, it can get you huge discounts on your insurance. But if you have a home that is not conforming, it can really put your payment out of the market for the house that you want. So I added that addendum in there, and I kind of guessed as to what I thought was a reasonable rate. And we did have the home inspection, and the home inspector came back to me and he says, yes, the roof is new, but it looks like the homeowner did it themselves. It's not the code. I can't find the permits. So we did go and get an insurance quote, and what was supposed to be roughly $1,500 a year was about $3,500 a year. Well, of course, it was an excess amount. We discussed it. I went back to the seller's agent and I said, yeah, this roof here, it's not done to code, and we can't afford that insurance, so we're going to have to cancel the contract. In this particular instance, the seller decided to put the roof on for us. $7,000. The buyer got a brand new roof, all because of that one addendum and my experience with working with these homes. If we hadn't had that addendum and I hadn't had the experience to know that, it was very likely we would not have been able to get out of the contract very easily. So my second client that I want to talk about today is going to be a seller. This particular instance, these are wealthy sellers. These are people in the multi-millions or over $1 million. Wealthy clients take a little bit more time to build trust. It takes a little bit more time to sell the property. It requires a lot of cooperation from other agents because it's very unlikely that I'm going to have a buyer and a seller in that same price range that wants that exact property. They tend to have higher expectations. They expect a certain level of service sometimes after the sale is over with. And personality conflicts between buyers and sellers are more likely in this price range. This particular client was a for sale by owner. I had to work with him for about 4 months before I was able to finally secure the listing. That is another story that's maybe for another time. I've several stories usually within each transaction, usually has some learning experience in there for me. In this particular instance, we finally listed the house, and within the first week, we had a full price cash offer. We were very excited. So the buyer came along to do an inspection. He wanted to do what was considered a stucco inspection. And that involves drilling tiny holes into the stucco and inserting a moisture meter behind that hole and seeing if there's moisture behind the wall. Well, the seller had just had the house waterproofed with an elastomeric coating to keep the water out. He was adamant they were not drilling holes in his newly waterproof stucco. So we were unable to come to contract with that situation, and I advised the seller that there may be quite a bit of difference in time between now and when we find our next buyer. If that was okay with him, we agreed. Lots of open houses later, and of course, I always want to sell it fast, but at this particular instance, I needed to do what was best for my client, so I chose to do that. The next buyer came along. It took us about 9 months to find them. And after about a week of negotiating, we were a couple of $1,000s apart. I couldn't get either one of them to budge. We weren't getting anywhere. So finally, I had to sit back. We're looking at a $1.4 million sale, and they're arguing over a couple of $1,000s. So I had to say to myself, there's something else going on here. I need to figure out what it is. What is the buyer afraid of, or what is the seller afraid of? How can I, make these two agree and come to contract, because I knew it was what was best for both of them. This particular instance, I sat down with my seller, and he says to me, I just don't like him. I don't like the way he negotiates. I don't like the way he'd been negotiating with us. I felt like, he was wasting my time with all the back and forth. Finally I realized what the issue was. And in this particular instance, I had to use my compassion again to sit down and understand where my seller was coming from and try to talk to him. And eventually I was able to convince the two of them to come to terms and make the sale close. And that was another instance in where experience, it matters. Had I not had the 15 years experience at that time, I probably would not have handled it that way. And honestly, it probably wouldn't have worked out between the two of them. So these two instances ought to give you a good idea about what it's like to work with me, because I believe that my clients come first. I have a lot of people ask me, what is your niche? They always want to know, what is your niche? And then they're usually looking for a type of real estate. They're looking for, are you a high end? Are you low end? My niche is customer service. I don't think that the real estate is always about the house. A lot of it is about marketing the home, but it's also about working with clients and getting their needs met in the best way possible to get them through the transaction with the least amount of stress to them. Because at the heart of every real estate transaction is a family. I make sure that all of my clients are treated uniquely with compassion, experience, and always with integrity. And to me, I believe that that's the difference between a good realtor and a great realtor. So if you know someone who you think that is looking to buy or sell, and you would like them to be treated with the kindness and the compassion that every person deserves, send them my way. I promise you they will not be disappointed. Thank you, Jennifer Dodge, broker owner of Silver Sands Real Estate.